I think, though, we're making the Hart conversation more boring than it
I
used to
was
be.
just going to say that.
I think we need to have a talk about Kirill Kaprizov. And I love this player, okay? Let's all just calm down and stay cool. I saw somebody in the chat when they saw Let's Be Real there, and Pete said, ooh, we're going to talk about Kirill Kaprizov. A Wild fan said, yes, a segment about Kirill Kaprizov.
Oh, boy.
Stay subscribed, friend. Turn off your computer, your phone, whatever. We need to have a frank conversation about Kirill Kaprizov because Kirill Kaprizov has gone from a player severely under-discussed in the prime of their career, 26 last season, 27 this season, to now being a little overrated. And I think that we are getting just a drop carried away with this idea that Kirill Kaprizov is the only good story in the NHL this season, and certainly getting carried away with the idea that Kirill Kaprizov is the best player in the NHL this season, because far from it, and I do mean far from it in both cases.
I am going to heavily push back on the accusation that Kirill Kaprizov is overrated. I think that the discussion, the Hart discussion, is maybe a little too pointed and targeted at Kirill Kaprizov, but that is not a reflection of Kirill Kaprizov, the player.
Yeah,
he's not overrated. He is one of the best players in the NHL.
Definitely one of the best players in the league. Definitely one of the best stories in the league. Like the Wild and Kaprizov having this great season that is largely being steered by Kaprizov. I mean, for a wing, that guy plays an absolute ton. He is the heart and soul of that team. But that's happening in other places. So we're saying the same things. I'm saying it a little more passionately, I guess.
No,
we're just
I would avoid
overrated
the
means.
term Kirill Kaprizov is overrated.
Maybe being over. Yeah.
He's being overrated in the Hart discussion, maybe. But he himself is not overrated. Like Pete said, he's one of the best players in hockey, I think.
I'll give you that.
There's too much tunnel vision in the Hart discourse.
So, and if you want some proof there, I'm glad we all agree on this. In a piece that ran December 10th, 3 weeks ago, Greg Wyshynski, as he does, polls some Hart voters and asks, where are you thinking? Does this with all the awards. I believe it's called NHL Award Watch on ESPN. It's always great. And in November, he did one, and Kaprizov had something like 70-something% of the first place votes, which are like, damn, I mean, Wild got off to a great start. He got off to a great start. He's been, to that point, one of the, like maybe the best story in the NHL. Hell yeah. Very exciting to have a newcomer to the Hart finalist sort of discussion. Obviously, other people having good seasons as the season has gone on. Other people are having better seasons than him. He did another one of these on December 10th. And as I said, initially it was 70-something% of the first place votes. 88% of these Hart voters had Kaprizov as their first place vote getter on December 10th.
Yeah.
Which that is where I say we're in bananas land with Kirill Kaprizov. Awesome player, love him. He plays the wing, which I typically maybe knock down people a peg in Hart discussion, which that is always done. You have to be like Ovechkin or Kucherov to be in that sort of discussion.
Yeah.
He's not the best wing this season. And if you want a player who has taken a team that was seen as maybe fringe playoff-ish team and gone off for them, Nikita Kucherov has been much better than Kaprizov this season.
But he also plays on a much better line. Like that's where the production, I don't think the production is the only case there. I think that when you're talking about Kaprizov, part of the reason why the Hart discussion around him at the beginning of the season was so pointed, and I guess I'm surprised that 88% is a jump from what it was a couple months ago. Like I think that's kind of ridiculous. It is certainly not a one-horse race right now. But when the Wild were the darlings of the beginning of the season and like the kind of the surprise team outside of the Winnipeg Jets that everybody was like, damn, they're much better than I thought they were. Like everybody looks for a reason why that's the case. And Kirill Kaprizov was the clear and obvious reason why the Wild were so good. And like even right now, he's got 19 more points than anybody else on that team, which is impressive, especially from the wing. Like that is an impressive feat. And we saw it with like Taylor Hall in his MVP year with the New Jersey Devils. He had like 30 more points than anybody else on that team. And that was a big part of the reason that he won the Hart that year. You also have to look at 20 of his 23 goals this season are at even strength. Mm-hmm. That is pretty incredible. He leads the league in even strength goals. So like there are a number of reasons why like you can absolutely say he has a strong case for being the number one leader in the Hart race. I don't think it's a one-horse race. And 88% of the votes being leaning that way is really surprising to me.
I just think people are really excited. I think they got a new toy to play with, and that's our fault. That's everybody's fault. That because Kaprizov been a dog. Like what we might be doing is giving him best new artist when he's got 4 albums out already and like sells out 10,000 seat places.
I think it's an obvious comparison for me to make, but I think the comparison between this and the MVP race in the NFL is an apropos one, because like I think like the part of this that is missing is like people want to look at the stats and be like, well, there's a bunch of other players, wings that have more points than him. But I think you look at Josh Allen. The reason why everyone wants to give him the MVP is there's multiple layers to it. I think there's voter fatigue, which I think is a little bit what's happening here. Kind of like you mentioned, it's the news story. It would be boring to give it to a Kucherov or a Draisaitl or a McDavid or a MacKinnon, something like that. And then also like the MVP, the valuable part of the conversation, which is not necessarily what this is, like the NFL, where it's literally called the MVP. But like Pete said, Kucherov's on a significantly better line than Kaprizov is. I don't think, like, you look back at the conversation we had about the Wild going into the season, no one expected them to be this good. So there's like him dragging this team into relevancy part of the conversation that I think is why people want to give him the award, even if based strictly on the numbers, he is not the best player in the NHL this year.
Can you give us just to throw some basic stats about just the leaders in the league? And this is where I want to emphasize that I do come in peace with Nikita Kirill Kaprizov. He's 5th in the league in points per game, which is very impressive. Again, not something that I would say running away with any sort of award, which there were quotes in that Wyshynski piece of it's his to lose and all this stuff. What I love about Kaprizov, and this is so basic, and what feels hearty about Kaprizov to me this season is look at the time on ice. He's playing like a minute and a half more than Kucherov. He's playing more than Connor McDavid. Do that again. Kirill Kaprizov is playing more per game than Connor McDavid. Insane. Of the top 5 in points per game, and really of the top 8 in points per game, Kirill Kaprizov, a mere winger on the Minnesota Wild, is playing the most. But you look at points per game, Kucherov has like a quarter point more per game than Kaprizov, while having a much more sustainable shooting percentage. Look at the shooting percentage on Kucherov, 15.3, and Kaprizov 19.2. So that's going to come back to earth a little bit. And the Wild are starting to come back to earth, by the way, we should note. Kaprizov is currently, I think, just day-to-day-ish with the lower body injury there. But I hope this spells out that he's having an unbelievable season. And he should, I think, be in the conversation. But I don't think he should be the leader. I don't even know who I think the leader is. I think that right now, my Hart winner, this is very lame, I think that right now my Hart winner is Kucherov. Like, I think that he has just driven this team that is managing significant change through a questionably navigable situation. And obviously, like, the usual suspects, MacKinnon, Draisaitl, McDavid. I wonder, though, like, is Draisaitl a usual suspect? He's obviously a Hart winner, but he doesn't feel usual suspect-y to me.
Well, not in the sense that, like, I feel like people usually find a reason to not include Draisaitl, and oftentimes it's because he plays with McDavid, shares the ice with McDavid a lot. A lot of the times it's his defensive play. Like, people will reach for reasons to knock Draisaitl's case down a notch.
Okay, so then for one reason, so like voter fatigue with MacKinnon or McDavid. I understand voter fatigue with McDavid. Like it's the Patrick Mahomes thing.
LeBron James,
like
MVP every year.
You just did 5 things we've never seen before. If you don't do a 6th thing we've never seen before, sorry, you're not that impressive.
Can I
to
just
us.
say
Oh, go ahead.
No, real quick. Not at all the point here. Braden Point has a 31.9 shooting percentage.
Yeah, so that's gonna
insane.
He's gonna come crashing down to earth.
Sure.
And honestly,
and that could hurt Kucherov's numbers as well.
Right. And Draisaitl is, I don't think, going to score goals at the rate he is right now.
I don't know. I would have more faith in that. Like Penguin in the chat says Draisaitl 23% shooting percentage. Like that, no heart. I could see Draisaitl shooting 23% for an entire season. I could. I also agree with QP. Like right now, I think my leader in the clubhouse would be MacKinnon. Just based off of like number 1, he's first in the league in points. Number 2, like given what the Colorado has been. And like just sort of the tumultuousness of that group, he is like such an incredible driving force for that team.
Yes, like speaking of driving a team out of a questionably navigable situation, we didn't know that it was going to be hard for the Avalanche, but
it's
have
always
learned
hard for the Avalanche.
It's hard for the Avalanche. And
for a team that's like been very near the top of the league for like quite a while, no team has it harder than the Colorado Avalanche.
There is one player whose Kaprizov's numbers are way more similar to, that was phrased weird, than they are to the McKinnons and the McDavids and the Kucherovs. And Sean, if you would like to say your piece on a name I don't even think we've mentioned yet.
No, we have not.
Which makes my point of we're getting carried away with the Kaprizov thing. If this guy with a similar season isn't even being thought of.
We're talking about Mikko Rantanen, which
yes.
I think would be awesome just for the memes of it. I think
for
that,
his impending free agency.
The thing I want to push back on what you just said, though, DJ, is that like he's still the 3rd best player on the team. Mm-hmm. And so like there is, again, the value portion of this where like he is doing that, but it's not nearly as important to the Avs as what Kirill Kaprizov is doing for the Wild. So like I am joking, like Rantanen deserves flowers. He's obviously playing amazing. Mm-hmm. I don't think he like deserves to be in the Hart conversation the way that Kaprizov does just because of the situations that they're in.
Simple fact, Mikko Rantanen will never win a Hart Trophy with the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, no.
It'll never happen.
Next year on the Buffalo Sabres, though, different question, different conversation.
Oh, give me that.
I'm just every
team
player.
deeply misses the playoffs. But
yeah, I mean, they deeply miss the playoffs with McDavid, I think. That's just the Buffalo Sabres.
Okay. That was a peaceful and I think productive and smart conversation, yeah?
Yeah.
Like none of us don't like Kaprizov. In fact, I think we all love Kaprizov.
I would love for Kaprizov to win the Hart.
And I'll say if he ends up going off the second half of the season and wins the Hart, I'm going to be so pumped about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this isn't about like I don't really have a horse in this race, honestly. Like if Draisaitl won the Hart this year, I'd be nervous. I'd be like, shit, is that the good thing that happens to the Oilers this year? So like I don't need any player to win the Hart. I don't really care about that. I think that all the other guys we're talking about, the usual suspects, have already like punched their ticket to the Hall of Fame. So whatever, who cares? For the teams we're rooting for, we probably want them to win the cup. I think though we're making the Hart conversation more boring than
I was just gonna say that. Like I think that in any year, like halfway through the season, you should be excited that there are so many guys to talk about that are in Hart candidacy. And for some reason, apparently 88% of people only see it one way. And I don't think that needs to be the case. And it is a disservice to how much parity there is in terms of individual accomplishments.
We all silly like the mayor.